This is the most important behavior strategy. If there was one strategy I wanted to make sure that you take away from this, is this one. This one's huge. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the 5 biggest behavior management mistakes that teachers make and how you can turn it around and have a better behavior management system in your classroom. So today I'm speaking with you about the biggest behavior management mistakes that I see that teachers make in the classroom when it comes to managing problem behavior. For mistake 1, not setting clearly defined expectations. Kids need to know what is expected of them. They need to know why you want them to do it and what the consequences are. They need to be clear and laid out. So a rule chart is really helpful. Consequences and incentives need to be laid out beforehand, and they need to be very clear. For example, if I catch you following the rules, you're going to get, whatever behavior buck you have. We have PBIS, so sometimes we give behavior points through Dojo, that sort of thing, if I catch you being good. But I'm looking for those expectations that you have listed that you put in your rule chart. The staying in your area, the raising your hand, using polite language, participating, all those things that are your typical expectations in the classroom. As well, the consequences need to be laid out and clear. I highly recommend having these consequences posted in your classroom, having them posted on a behavior sheet if you do behavior sheets with students, so that they know, and you don't even have to say it. You don't have to be a broken record. You can literally just point to the consequence. They have kind of a 3 reminder rule on their behavior charts, and if I have to give them 3 reminders on something that they're working towards, then they are not going to get their check, and it's not going to count towards their incentive at the end of the day. When I do the check-in, check-out procedures with kids, I always go over exactly what I expect them to see. I make them repeat it back to me because you want to make sure they're listening to you. Sometimes to children, we start to become the Charlie Brown adult, and it's wah, 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 and they're not listening, and they're distracting, and their mind's moving on to the next thing that they want to do. So we need to make sure that we are clearly defining those expectations, and then we're having them repeat them back so that we know that they are understood. So really helpful is if you have visuals, because then they can see the expectation. I know that you can get a lot of visuals through Boardmaker, but that is a program that not everybody has. Honestly, the best thing I have seen is when teachers actually take pictures of the students acting out the appropriate behavior and using that in their visuals, because then it really resonates with the kids more than just say a graphic. I also think that it's really helpful that as a class, when you're teaching those rules and expectations to students, that you act them out together and you show them what the good behavior looks like and you show them what the not appropriate behavior looks like. That really does hammer it home with the kids, and you need to practice this in your morning meetings or once a week or however it works best for your students. Kids need to know the rules, and they need to be kid-friendly rules. Don't be setting expectations for students that are too high and not developmentally appropriate. For example, you're not going to ask a preschool student to sit for 30 minutes without any kind of movement. That's just not developmentally appropriate. It's not realistic. In fact, some of the recent research has said that kids need to move about every 5 to 10 minutes when they're really little. So even more so with the really, really littles, you probably want to get them moving every couple of minutes, even if it's just like a clap back, snap back, whatever, call back activity that you do with them. That's very important. One of my favorite things to do to get the kids moving is just to be like, if you know the answer, stand up. That sort of thing is great because it gives them a chance to kind of move around. If you know the answer, stomp your feet. That really helps kids get their wiggles out and they're able to focus better, and that will help eliminate some problem behavior when you're trying to teach. All right, for tip number 2, know your teaching philosophy. As a new teacher, I know that I didn't really know what my philosophy was fully. I know I wanted to help special education students, but I didn't really understand my behavior management philosophy and how I wanted to interact with students. And I got a lot of helpful and not so helpful advice in the beginning. I know one thing that was always preached to me is to be tough, 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 tough. Let me translate tough to you. I think being consistent is important and setting those clearly defined expectations. You don't need to be mean. This whole don't smile until Christmas thing is baloney. Kids need to know that you care about them. And if you aren't showing the smiles and the love on your face, then they're going to really think that you don't care about them. And to be honest, the best behavior management strategy that I have found has been building relationships and showing love and compassion. So I don't think hiding yourself for the sake of getting better classroom management is going to work. You're not going to teach and manage your class like the teacher next door. You're just not that person. I know I really battled with that, and I came in really tough thinking that that was going to work better for me, and it did not. It backfired bad, and the students did not respect me until really we got on that level and we made relationships, and then they wanted to be good for me because they respected me and they wanted to make me happy because we had built that relationship. You aren't going to be like the teacher next door. If you're a parent watching this, you're not going to be the parent next door. Trust your guts. You know if it feels right because you get that feeling in your heart and it works for you and it's natural for you. I think if you're forcing yourself to be someone that you're not, you're not going to be happy. You're going to feel very uncomfortable, and it's not going to be fulfilling for you, and your students are going to see it. Your children are going to see it because it's not your authentic self. Be you. Stop trying to be somebody else. Obviously, it's good to have self-reflection and to look back on how we handled things, because I've had moments where I'm like, oh, that was not a good choice. I did not handle that situation correctly. It's good to be self-reflective and try to tweak, but when it really comes down to it, you need to be yourself. That's the most important thing. The next mistake that I see is not being consistent. I will tell you, I think consistency is hard. Sometimes we are tired, we are over it, we just want to make them move on so we can worry about what we need to do. So here, I'll give you what you want just so I can relax for 5 seconds. But in the long run, that's going to be hard. Especially in the beginning, you really need to be consistent. And you know what? Kids recognize unfair and they will go crazy on that. They will hone in on when they know you're being unfair, when you did such and such for one student and you didn't do it for them. Now, I know that we have some students that have different needs, and I think that it's really important when you're talking to your class and you're having those morning meetings and you're talking about rules and expectations, you are talking about equity and you are talking about how everybody is getting what they need, and that some people might need a few more reminders than other people, but consequences still are the same, that we need to take time to teach people. My daughter actually had a teacher that was just so amazing, and I loved what she did, but talked to the class about, what she needed and how we're all here in this classroom to learn, and how some of us need extra help with reading and some of us need extra help with math, and some of us maybe are working on our handwriting, but some students are working on managing their emotions, and some students are working on calling out, and some students have a really hard time waiting their turn, and that we're all working on that, and that we need to help each other out and be understanding and supportive, and that, she wasn't going to jump all down a student and not give them any chances if they struggled with a subject area or one of those areas, and that we all needed to help teach each other to do better. And I think when the kids know that, and then they see you actually practice what you preach, then they gain a lot of respect. And that helps them understand that in life, it's not just one size fits all. We really do have to take things into consideration. But being consistent with your reinforcement, I think, is really important. If you say you're going to do something, don't forget, follow through, because they are going to remember that. Be consistent with your praise. Be consistent with what your non-negotiables are in your classroom. Every teacher has one that they really just feel like the kids have got to master while they're in there. I know for a lot of teachers that's lining up is a non-negotiable. For me in my classroom, because I do teach special ed, a non-negotiable is respect to your classmates. I do not tolerate any kind of bullying or disrespect, because you know what, that is the main thing that we are working on. And so they know that that's a non-negotiable. When you come into my classroom, you're respectful. When they've seen that I follow through on my consequences for that, and that they don't earn their privilege at the end of the week or at the end of the day based on how their behavior plan is, then they learn that that is a non-negotiable with me. And guess what? They stop doing it. All right. Mistake number 4 that I see is huge. This is not losing your cool, learning how to regulate yourself and not let this stuff get to you. The child maybe having a bad day. They're not trying to give you a bad day. That's just something that you need to remember. And you need to be, as the adult, the person who sets the example for appropriate behavior and emotional regulation. So you really need to work hard on making sure that you keep your cool. And I preach that a lot in my videos because it's so important. Children will rise to the level of your mood. And if you can keep calm, then they'll be calm. You can never put out anger and frustration with anger and frustration. You're just going to fuel the fire. So it's okay if you get in these situations and you need a break. If you're feeling you're in the boiling point and you're going to lose your cool, that might be an opportunity for you to ask that student if they could please, take a note to another teacher if they're being disruptive and just driving you crazy just because you need a break. Or if it's getting to the point where it's really difficult, then you might need to see if you can get someone else to come step in, being maybe a co-teacher if you teach in a special education classroom, or or a paraprofessional if you're a special education teacher and you're fortunate enough to have one, or if you need to, your admin. If you have really supportive admin, they will not have a problem doing that. Just if you need a breather, if you need to go to the bathroom for a minute and you need to cry, because I have gone to the bathroom and I have cried. There has been days where it's really hard to keep it together. So that's the most important thing for you to remember. If you lose your cool, you lose your authority. The kids know that they can get to you. After they see you yell and scream and jump up and down, they know you have a breaking point and they're going to go there. There are some kids who are really empathetic and it's going to really upset them to see you upset. But the kids that typically like to stir the pot in general in your class are going to like watching you wind up. So it's kind of the same philosophy we give kids when there's a kid who's bugging them. We try to not feed into the behavior, because when you feed into it, then that's something for them to do. It's entertainment. And for a lot of kids, you losing your cool is a great way for them to escape what they don't want to do. If they know that they can make Miss Irwin lose her cool, then they're not going to have to do the math assignment. Guess what? They're going to constantly do that. And so you need to be very aware of that and not let someone end up taking your authority by you losing your cool, and then your whole class just spirals out of control. Also, you're showing them that it's okay to act like that. When you're frustrated, you can yell and scream, because sometimes teachers do. We're human. Sometimes parents do. We're human. But you're showing them that's okay. We don't want to teach them that. We want to teach them how you best handle it. My students have actually seen me go and take a deep breath. There's been moments when our class has been real wild, and because you just have those days, and I'll go in and I'll say, okay, we're going to do a mindfulness activity today, and I will go put on some Mind Yeti. If you have not checked out Mind Yeti, you need to, because it is like the secret sauce to how I manage a lot of things in my class. And it helps me regulate, the kids regulate. And I go in and I turn off the lights and we do a Mind Yeti for 5 to 8 minutes. Sometimes it's got to be 8 minutes. And we just breathe and we listen to the calm and we reset. And it's huge. It is a game changer. Sometimes the kids need that. We need that. We need to breathe and get in tune with ourselves. And I like to model how I handle stress for those kids, because they learn, they watch what you do, and that really helps them. So being a positive role model and managing your emotions appropriately and showing kids how to self-regulate when you're angry and frustrated is really the most important thing. And they will grow so much from watching you model that. All right, mistake number 5, don't hold a grudge. We are in the business of learning and teaching. And so every day we need to teach to these students, and we need to show them that every day is a new opportunity to learn and grow. And so we really need to come in every day with love and compassion. We can't hold over from what happened yesterday and hold it against them. They deserve a fresh start. Honestly, we want a fresh start when maybe we make a mistake. We want to reset, and those children deserve to have that reset. They deserve to know that every day we're coming in here to learn and grow and become better. And so we need to make sure that they have that opportunity. Also, we want to teach these kids how they can handle frustrations and how they can manage things with other human beings, and that holding a grudge isn't good, and being continually angry at someone is not good. We need to show them, we need to model forgiveness. Forgiveness is huge. Forgiveness will help them a lot in their life. And when it really boils down to it, we're teaching them life skills. And we want them to know that, you know what, you can still love someone even though maybe you had a rough day with them, because they're going to need that the rest of their lives, whether it's people they go to school with, their friends, when they grow up, their partner, they're going to need to know all these things. So we really want to show them that that is important. Another thing that I really feel is important is don't judge a kid by their case file or what the teacher next door or the teacher from the previous year had to say about them. This is absolutely huge, guys. It is not fair to a child whose brain is still developing and they are still figuring out how to be a human to hold what happened against them the previous year when they walk into your classroom. Every student who walks into my classroom has an opportunity to reset, restart, and have a fresh new year and a fresh new day when they walk through my door, because we are learning and we are growing and we are evolving. And I don't want to be judged for the kind of teacher I was my first year later on in my career, because I've learned and grown and evolved and become better, and I've been reflective. And I think if you teach kids that, then it will help them. I like to talk to them about things that have happened when they're calm after they've had maybe a really rough day, because I think it's important for them to learn that self-reflection and how to be better, but to let them know that I love them and I forgive them and I'm not going to hold it against them. And I will tell them that. I don't hold back. I like to show how I truly feel to my students, because I feel like when you have those heart-to-heart conversations, that's where the growth really comes from, and that's where the relationship really builds, and that's where you really see the best progress. So for more tips and tricks, check out these videos right over here. Don't forget to go over and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that notification bell, because you don't want to miss every time a new video comes up. Make sure you like. I really love when you do that. Leave a comment. I'm trying to build a community here and I really want to hear what you have to say. Thank you for coming to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.